second one was Florida Gators. So again, we'll see how this all pans out. All right, but let's play matchmaker a little bit, right? And again, Athletes Forum Podcast. Drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think. But subscribe to the channel, right? Let's play coaching matchmaker. I'm going to give you who's going to potentially be the next head coach for these schools coming up, right? Now, at the time we're recording this, schools that have not announced their head coaching vacancy that could open up are schools like LSU, Auburn, Florida State, Wisconsin. All right, so let's dive into this a little bit. First one, Oregon State. Who the hell is going to go to Oregon State? All right, it's been flirted about Ed Orgeron, right? He coached at USC. He has some connections out there. He can recruit. I can see him going to a school like Oregon State. What about Ryan Grubb? Ryan Grubb, offensive coordinator for Alabama. Obviously, he was the offensive coordinator in Washington when they with Penix and the team up there, right? And they went to the Natty, right? He's familiar with the Pacific Northwest. Offensive coordinator for Seattle. What about Ryan Grubb? Ryan Grubb for the Beavs, right? Let's go to Arkansas, all right? Try to go after Dan Mullen, but he already told you y'all need to give it to Gus Malzahn. Why not Gus Malzahn? Has that SEC pedigree, turned Auburn around, right? Why not Gus Malzahn? If not Gus Malzahn, what about Brent Key? What about Brent Key at Georgia Tech? You see what he's done there over the past couple of years, right? Big upset in Ireland 2 years ago versus Florida State. You see what he's doing this year. He's on the verge of an ACC championship, plays in some big games this year, right? What about Brent Key, right? Let's go to Virginia Tech. I think this is where you hear James Franklin. I think Virginia Tech is a team that needs that type of guy, that type of figure to spark that school again, spark that organization again, right? Because Virginia Tech really hasn't been like that in a while, right? You think about Sandstorm, right? One of the most beautiful entrances in college football, right? What about James Franklin for Virginia Tech? But here's a wild card. If you don't go James Franklin, what about Mike Vick? Why don't they pull a Colorado and bring in a guy that could be their Deion Sanders, that could be their Coach Prime, played at Virginia Tech, right? Legend at Virginia Tech. He's down at Norfolk State right now in the 757. He still has the Virginia connections. Who in Virginia wouldn't go to Virginia Tech if Mike Vick was the quarterback? What about Mike Vick, Virginia Tech? You guys drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Oklahoma State. Listen, I've been giving you guys 2 coaches per school. I can only think of one guy right here, and that's John Summerall. Right? That's John Summerall from Tulane. I think he could be the perfect guy for the job. Otherwise, I don't really know who fits there. I'm sorry, Oklahoma State. I don't really know who fits there. I think John Summerall will be looking to take that opportunity in the Big 12 if he went there, right, to leave Tulane. So what about John Summerall for Oklahoma State? UCLA. This is a tricky one. Because when you look at UCLA, you might have your coach currently at your school right now when you think about either New Heisler or Coach Skipper, right? But if you had to think outside the box, right? If you had to think outside the box for this one, what about DeAnton Lynn, defensive coordinator for USC? Before he went to USC, he was at UCLA. He doesn't even have to move. He's right there for you. What about DeAnton Lynn? If not him, here's a wild card. What about Jesse Minter? D coordinator at Michigan when they won the Natty under Jim Harbaugh. And that's a D coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers, right? You get a young buck in there that can rejuvenate that team, that fan base, right? What about Jesse Minter? If not, I think this is where you hear James Franklin again. I think Virginia Tech and UCLA are in the same situation where they need that spark. They need a big side, and they need a name, right? Who wouldn't take 10-2 every year? I know Virginia Tech and UCLA will, right? They need a guy like James Franklin. I gave you 3 for UCLA because I couldn't think of 2 for Oklahoma State, but that would be my 2, right? DeAnton Lynn, Jesse Minter, James Franklin. Then we go to Penn State. Listen, the obvious choice from what people are saying, you could plug in Manny Diaz from Duke. He was recently there when they had success. Or you could go the Matt Campbell route, just like Josh Pate has been promoting throughout his channel. Shout out to Pate State, right? Manny Diaz, Matt Campbell. But when you think about Penn State, you think about a school that sells itself. You think about a school that is not really known for the flashing lights of being a up-tempo, fast type of team. You think about ground and pound. You think about, again, Nick Singleton type running back, right? You think about Saquon type running back, right? Miles Sanders type running back, right? They really haven't had a great or relevant receiver since Jahan Dotson, right? So I think Penn State, you got to find a way to get physical. You got to find a way that's going to beat the Ohio State. You got to find a way that's going to beat Michigan. You got to find a way and build a bully that are going to beat these top teams. Now Indiana. You know who I think? Penn State fans, let me know what you think. Brent Key. I know I mentioned Brent Key for Arkansas, but Brent Key might be the mentality you guys need. Brent Key might be the coach you guys need. Brent Key might be the solution to Penn State. They got all the resources. They don't need a marketer. They don't need a campaigner. They need a football coach. No disrespect to Manny Diaz and Mike Campbell. I think they're football coaches too. But what about Brent Key? You talk about thinking outside the box. You get him to leave Georgia Tech, his alma mater, to come to Penn State, Happy Valley. Bring the run game to Happy Valley. It's a whole new ball game. Athletes Forum Podcast, you guys drop a comment. Let me know what you think, all right? We just played Matchmaker and picked out all the coaches that are going to be the next in hire for these schools. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment. Athletes Forum Podcast. Subscribe to the channel.